Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. Well, trains, tankers, food processing plants, feels like everything is blowing up around us. And then it hit me this morning. 99 red balloon explosions. Here's what happened in Maryland just yesterday. Listen.
By crash investigators.
So when I was at the scene talking to people on Apple Avenue, there was crime scene tape that went up, and I overheard the trooper saying it was a crime scene. Can the trooper talk to and differentiate what a crime scene and an accident scene are? If it was a crime scene.
So this is the explosion that happened in Maryland. This was a tanker explosion. And the reporter is asking about why crime scene tape was put up. Now let's look at the body language of these people, because why would this be a crime scene?
I heard the trooper saying, talking to people on Apple Avenue, there was crime scene tape that went up, and I overheard the trooper saying it was a crime scene. Can the trooper talk to and differentiate what a crime scene and an accident scene are?
Unbelievable.
If it was a crime scene, what do you suspect the crime was?
As far as that question, this is an accident scene, sir. It's a collision.
Okay.
Not a crime scene at this time.
I don't know who the best person to answer this would be.
So everything is going up in smoke. These are the train derailments going back to February, Valentine's Day. Interesting, isn't it? Valentine's Day, red balloons, red or pink balloons, typical of Valentine's Day. And you can add to this the second Ohio train derailment that happened in Springfield, Ohio. So, unbelievable. Now, you have to ask yourself, what's up with all these train derailments? Here's another one. Let's take a look at this one. I showed you guys this one yesterday. We used to sing a nursery rhyme in preschool and, when we were kids. And we would say, if the train goes off the track, do you want your money back? Now, the joke there was you almost never heard of train derailments growing up. I mean, unless I'm having a Mandela moment, train derailments were extremely rare. And you never ever heard about them in the news. And now all of a sudden, this is just happens all the time. So, we're going to talk about what all this means. We're also going to decode the film Super 8. We've got processing plants all over the United States. This is a fact-checked story saying there is no conspiracy to undermine the supply chain of America with all of these processing plants burning down. And so we've now transitioned from the 99 red Chinese balloons, which was some kind of ritual to signal the coming red balloon push pins on the map of all these disasters happening all around the country. Reminds me of the Illuminati card. It's called multiple disasters all at once. And now this red balloon thing has evolved into red balloon infrastructure explosions. And what it appears to me is that we are witnessing the controlled demolition of the infrastructure. And we're going to get into why this is the case at the end of the show. I have some theories about this, but the fact checkers say, no way, this has nothing to do with a conspiracy to disrupt the supply chain. They even go as far as to blame Ukraine and the conflict there on the supply chain on everything that's going on with these food processing plants. But here's what they fail to acknowledge in this article. They admit that fires happen every year. They try to say, oh, this year is no worse than the last year's, but they don't count the severity of the fires. You can't compare each fire to each other because fires are different in their impact and severity, aren't they? Because this year, the impact and severity is unprecedented. The fires are much larger, affecting more plants in terms of the impact on the plant. And this article says, oh, there's no significant disruption. Well, what is significant? Who defines that? And then they cross out this guy's map, even though the map is correct in documenting the actual fires. Even if the article disagrees with the claims made about the source of the fires, the map is correct. So the article goes on to downplay this, saying that there's fires every year, but they dismiss the severity of each of the fires. Now I'm going to go check in with you guys, and we're going to get into Super 8. Now, many of you asked me to decode Super 8, the film, about a train derailment that happens in Ohio. In the film, when the train derails, a monster, a Hydra-like monster, is released to the town of Lillian. Lillian backwards is Lil Nail, or Nail Lil, which is basically code for Little Nail, which is the poker. And it took me a while to get to this film, but I finally broke it down, and what I found was chilling. There were several dates that appear in the film. One of those dates is the eclipse date, April 8th. That will happen in 2024, next year. It'll pass right over Makanda, Illinois' water tower. And in the movie, the water tower appears as well, where the alien built its spaceship underneath it and then takes off. We also see the actual date. This is a screenshot from the film. We see the actual date of the Ohio derailment 44 years before it happened. Now, whose tombstone is this? It's the mother in the film, played by Katrina Balfe, the Outlander star. She was born with 88 days left in the year in real life. Now, what is this about? Well, these are portals. When sacrifice happens, when they do their little ritual magic through these, this fiction, it becomes reality. It's like a portal. Now I want you to look at the soundtrack links, because we need more 44s to have confirmation, don't we? There's the tombstone. Elizabeth Lamb. Lizards and Lambs. As they're looking at Super 8 film before his mother died. Remember, she was born with 88 days left in the year in real life. 44 is half of 88. Look at the song lengths in the film, the track listing. The feature song, Super 8, 1 minute and 44 seconds. Remember, 44 years before the anniversary date of the train disaster was on the tombstone. Here's another song. We'll fix it in post haste. 44 seconds. So total 88 seconds. Now, the central theme of the film was zombies. This is something we've been talking at length about, haven't we? Remember ConOp 8888, the zombie exercise? And remember the CSX runaway train 8888?
That was a really good zombie murder. So when he investigates the zombie stuff, you feel something. You don't want him to die because they love each other. That makes sense?
People are turning into zombies because of the chemical factory, right? Wow.
I don't see how the guy playing Detective Hathaway can ask where the zombies are coming from.
But they offer you no real.
Now, this film broke all kinds of box office records. It kind of has a Stranger Things feel to it. Like this was Stranger Things before Stranger Things became popular. Basically a throwback to the late 70s, early 80s. This one, of course, took place in like 1979. So where it is set to. And this is why I titled this show 44 years ago, because in the movie it's 44 years ago, even though the movie came out in 2010. So let's break this movie down from start to finish, because it is loaded with pre-programming and symbolism about the coming train disasters that we are experiencing right now. So the group of children that you just saw in Ohio wander the countryside filming their zombie movie, and they inadvertently witness a train derailment. The whole thing's caught on Super 8 film, of course, which is why they named the movie Super 8. And my first clue that the date of the real train derailment would happen 44 years later would appear in the film was this time on the clock. This was the first clue I got before I ever saw the Tombstone, because this is 2-3 in reverse, which was the date of the Ohio train derailment. 2-3 in reverse, which is February 3rd, 2023, 2323, the date of the Ohio train derailment. Let's keep watching here.
Proof he was alive. And you didn't. The decision was made.
Sweetheart, this is my job.
The dead coming back to life? I think you're in danger.
There's a sticker, Grand Ohio. So this scene, basically, the children make a set because they're filming the zombie movie, and so they go to the local Lillian train station to continue filming their zombie movie, and they realize that a real train is coming, and they want to include that in this film. So they're like rushing around to try to get in position to make sure that they can catch the train driving by as they're saying their lines. Grand Ohio Railroad. Let's keep going.
We're starting on Allison and Pan the train, right? I hope we don't miss it.
Now, the word Lillian, as I said, is the word nail, N-A-I-L, and L-I-L, which is Lil. So this is the little nail. Let's keep watching.
Shut up! I am trying! What did that set up? Oh my god! No, this isn't the last.
Now, as they're filming, they witness this white truck driving head on towards the train, causing it to derail. Let's keep watching.
I'm gonna see you!
An accident like this is exceptionally rare.
It wasn't an accident. What? There was a truck on the train tracks.
So, I think you're starting to see the similarities. Now, they arrived in a yellow car, this yellow car here, Yellow means sickness. It means fear. We've been seeing this color show up quite a bit this year, haven't we? Let's keep watching.
I think I'm having a heart attack.
Then, of course, you wouldn't think twice about this boy saying this, about a boy having a heart attack. But now, this is happening everywhere. Myocarditis, right?
I think I'm having a heart attack. And I have a scrape.
Joe! Oh my god!
Now, one of the children actually witnesses this large Hydra-like creature with many arms escape from one of the rail cars. I don't show that part here, but it happens, and I think you'll see the creature later. And if you don't, you can look it up. But even his spaceship looks like a Hydra at the end of the film. We'll look at that as well. But the children go to the white truck because it's still somewhat intact after driving head-on into the train. And they realize that the person inside is their teacher. And he's holding a map of the train route that he had just derailed. And it derails here in Ohio, as you can see on the map. But what makes this interesting is that this seems to point, this last, second to the last leg of the train route seems to point directly to East Palestine, which is right here. That would happen 44 years to the day after the main character's mother died. Let's keep watching here.
It's a schedule for the train.
Map of the contiguous United States.
What's the writing?
Dates and times.
What's this line?
So here I penciled it out for you. Here's the exact location of East Palestine. As you can see, it kind of falls right at the edge of where this line is squiggly to where it goes straight. Just northwest of Pittsburgh. So there's the actual, where that black dot is the actual derailment. And you can see that this leg of the movie map points right to it. Like an arrow, almost. Let's keep watching here.
It's a schedule for the train.
Hey Joe, did you hear about the train crash?
No.
So the next day, the children vow to never tell anyone what they witnessed because they realize that it's bigger than all of them and they don't want to get in trouble. Also, the girl, which is played by Elle Fanning, stole her father's car, so nobody can talk about what they experienced and what they saw.
Much more on this story as it develops. Instead, opting to use
Hey, tell the twins to stop.
I can't.
Morning, Joe.
Good morning, Mr. Kaz. Good morning, Mr. Kaznick. Hey Joe, did you hear about the train crash?
So obviously there's twins also. That's all part of this. The twin spirits that we've been talking about. And I included this next scene so that you could see the nail. This is the water tower. And this is actually the water tower where the alien builds its spaceship underneath the ground in a pit. And it's, so remember, you're going to hear the date of the eclipse that will be going over right over the Makanda, Illinois water tower. The water tower does not look the same. It's actually a yellow water tower with a smiley face on it in Makanda, Illinois. But it's interesting that they're both water towers, right? Let's keep watching here. So that says Lil Nail. And the Lil Nail is the poker. Let's keep watching here. Now, the children try to continue on with life, as normally as they can after what they just saw and experienced, even as the situation around them begins to escalate. The military shows up into the town and starts trying to cover up everything. And in this scene, the children are continuing to film their zombie movie. So the zombie theme is throughout the movie. Okay. They use the derailment back here as the backdrop to continue filming their zombie movie. So here you see the derailment. Now, I have not compared the photos of the actual derailment to these photos. Gosh, that would be crazy if some of this stuff matched up, wouldn't it? I don't know how they'd be able to do that, but I've seen things even more crazy than that happen before on this channel. So I'm not going to dismiss that. Maybe I'll look at that after this show to see if this scene matches up somehow with the scene that happened 44 years to the day after, and I have to keep saying that because I can't even believe it when I say it, from the date on the tombstone in the movie. Let's keep watching.
Cut! That was mint!
Now, this zombie thing is important because it's happening right now, isn't it? We've got mold, we've got injections, we've got fungus apocalypse, we've got the 5G. All of this is feeding into this apocalypse that's happening right now.
Money chompers. At least I don't have to use a booster seat.
You could jump from a building or fall down some stairs.
There you heard the booster seat mentioned. Now, of course, that's a joke that many children use to joke about, to make fun of each other. But what if this booster seat mention is really the booster shot? Got to ask yourself, given everything else that we're uncovering in this, right? Let's listen.
Mint! Money chompers. At least I don't have to use a booster seat.
You could jump from a building or fall down some stairs.
Now, interestingly, I thought about the word boost, and boost is a slang word meaning to steal something. So when you get boosted, something is stolen from you. Now, when the train crash occurs, these mysterious white cubes, as you can see here on your screen, they look like little Rubik's cubes, but they're all one color, they're all white. They're essentially pour out of the rail cars. Now later you find out that these cubes are all part of the spaceship of the alien. And then they're like basically programmable cubes that can assemble. They self-organize and assemble to form the spaceship. And the military, when they shot this alien spaceship down, they stole these cubes from him so that he could not get back to his wherever he was from, right? So the military is scrambling to pick all these cubes up. And look at the logo on the side of one of the cars.
It's loaded. Move out. Yes, sir.
And the camera actually stops and focuses on it. What is this? What are these three dots? Well, we saw these three dots, didn't we, in John I Am Legend's booster. Got booster ad. Now, this is not exact. They're orientated a little bit differently. But look at this. This is crazy.
John Legend, how do you keep your voice sounding so legendary? Got it?
Blue water tower. Blue band-aid. What are the three dots? Well, they're the makers. They're the Masons mark. As you can see right here, three dots in a triangle is the venerable Masonic mark. Now, why is this appearing in a children's movie?
How am I supposed to be a zombie?
Pretty much just be a lifeless ghoul with no soul, dead eyes, scary, hungry for human flesh. Like she wants to turn somebody into a zombie, because that's kind of what zombies do.
So as you can see here, the whole theme of zombies just continues to intensify throughout the film. I'm going to check in with you guys. We'll keep going with this. All right. Looks like everybody's here. Good. Okay, let's keep going with this.
Oh my god, yeah, that's really good. Not bad.
Whoa, I I just caught something I wasn't expecting to find. Let's play this back.
Not bad.
All right. So, what's that on her back? And what's around her neck? See who gets it. All right, let's take a look. See who gets this one. All right. Welcome, everybody. Yeah, she's a zombie, actually, but yeah. Okay, did you guys catch that? See who's paying attention. All right. Pokemon has got what's on her neck. What was on her back? There you go. Lilith Eden got it. Diamonds and Pearls. That's a Prince song, isn't it? Wow. Welcome to the Purple Rain. Now let's keep going. That had to be the reference there, because it was just too exact, wasn't it? Diamonds and Pearls. Let's keep going. Now, the citizens of the town mention that they believe they're being invaded by the Russians. Now, given the context of what's going on right now with Russian-American relations, this is a very interesting scene that you're going to see next. Watch.
Not bad.
Really?
Oh, but first you're going to hear a mold mention, but in a different context. Let's listen to that part first.
Really?
They're saying it's just cleanup at the crash site too, but they're taking molds of tire tracks. That means they're looking for someone. Now what would you counter? They're saying it's just cleanup at the crash site too, but they're taking molds of tire tracks. That means they're looking for someone. Now
weird, right? Why would they put that line in the movie? Molds of tire tracks. That's got to be a reference to the mold apocalypse. Let's keep watching.
You know what this feels like to me? This feels like a Russian invasion. We've got trains crashing, people vanishing, Belmont County's without power.
Debbie, I don't think the Russians have anything to do with what's going on in town. Roscoe, I need you to get every radio we have and you tune into those frequencies.
So here the sheriff begins to suspect something. He begins to suspect a military cover-up. Now, this was after he basically intercepted a military radio frequency that mentions an Operation Walking Distance. We'll get into that in a second, but basically he's talking about a frequency. So there's your 5G confirmed. Let's listen to that again.
Roscoe, I need you to get every radio we have and you tune into those frequencies, understand? No. Hey, Milner. Yeah. Don't you have a radio scanner with a descramble? Voice inverter, yeah, hold on.
Now, what is it about the walking distance? Well, I looked up what a walking distance is. This is more confirmation. Walking distance is 1/4 of a mile, which is 440 yards. And so this is all about 44 years from the date on the tombstone. Let's keep watching. Now, here's where we get an exact time stamp with Biden, the 46th president, under which the 99 red balloons is happening right now. The train derailments, everything, the Chinese balloons, the, supply chain issues, the warehouse fires, the food processing plant fires. These are all the 99 red balloons. It's an assault. And how do we connect Biden to this? Well, watch the number of windows on the garage. The 46th president, and you have 6 windows across the top and 4 down the side. Now, what is behind this garage? Well, this is where the alien escaped to after he got off the train, after the train derailment, and he built his nest in this garage, in a pit underneath the water tower. Watch this.
blow up your train. We could make another train and blow that one up.
A little bit of a clue there that it's fake, right? Oh, we'll just make another train and blow that up. Now listen to this part about Operation Walking Distance.
Fire light at full 500 hours. Operation Walking Distance is in effect.
The county is being evacuated due to a wildfire that is raging out of control and threatening to reach the Lillian chemical plant.
What's going on?
Evacuation, the fire!
So they stage a fire, as you just saw. They force the town to evacuate. And this begs the question, was the derailment a cover-up to hide something else much bigger? Maybe a beast coming out of a pit, for instance.
It says April 8th, 1963 incident.
This is where we get the April 8th mention, which is the exact date of the eclipse that's going to happen in 2024. The eclipse that forms a pair of eclipses, one happening at the water tower in McKenna, Illinois in 2017, and the second eclipse happening on April 8th, 2024. Let's keep watching here. Here's the water tower. It's a smiley face. So you have yellow and blue. That's a Ukraine flag colors.
What is this? We're under the water tower. Look.
Here they are under the water tower after they've gone down into the pit. And they see the victims of the alien hanging from what looked to be like cocoons or something.
There are bodies everywhere.
He's been tracking this thing since 1958.
Now, the girl, Elle Fanning, who plays the girl, she basically is abducted by the creature, and he takes her down here. And she's hanging from the ceiling, I believe. And so the children hatch a plan to investigate the teacher's classroom, who was in the white truck, to see if they can find clues about what he knew about the event and what he knew about the derailment and why he tried to destroy the train. And they find more Super 8 video. And then we get the dates, April 8th.
There are bodies everywhere.
He's been tracking this thing since 1958.
We also get the number 58, which of course is the Trump number. Now, this is important because as the tapes reveal that the alien was captured after he crash landed and wanted to rebuild his ship out of the cubes, we also learn that two of the actors in the film are also 58 years old. So we've got 58s all over the place.
What is this?
I explained that all he wants is to rebuild his ship. He's been desperate to reconstitute his ship since it crashed here in 58. A craft made up of those cubes, a complex shape-shifting alloy, remarkable material that we'll never fully understand.
So, Kyle Chandler, 57 years old, plays in the film. He's obviously the sheriff. Then we get Noah Emmerich, who is actually 58 right now. And we have a third actor who's 58 years old, Ron Eldard, 58 years old, both of them born in February. Now, this is important because tomorrow we're going to be going over Trump and his recent comments about quantum leap and telling us that there will be a quantum leap forward for his housing ideas to house Americans in freedom housing or something. Now, this is important because he appeared as a 12-year-old boy in a Quantum Leap episode. And in that episode, it was 1958. He's in the back of a taxi cab. Now, it wasn't actually him, obviously. It was someone depicting him, but they actually said Donald Trump and his father, Fred Trump, They're in the back of a taxi cab. The date of that episode was the date of his mother's birthday, 1958. And the reason why this is important and why him mentioning it now, for it's several reasons. Number one, Trump knew he would be president way back in 1983. He knew the exact year he would be president way back in 1983. How can we say this? Well, that is when he built the 58-story Trump Tower. It completed in 1983. There was a Western also from 1958 of a man named Trump who sold umbrellas and built a wall. The name of that was Trackdown, was the name of that Western. Mar-a-Lago has 58 bedrooms. There's also the fact that I believe he was 58 years old when he married Melania. And finally, he won the 58th presidential quadrennial election. The 58th quadrennial presidential election. Now, how could somebody know that they would be president in exactly 2016? They wouldn't be able to know that, would they? Unless there was much, much, much more to the story than anyone could ever imagine. Now, let's keep watching this because another number shows up that we've been talking about at length.
I've been tracking this thing since 1958.
What is this? It says April 8th, 1963 incident. I don't know.
The number 237. Now, this appears on an address. And now a channel named Veritas gave me some research on this street sign that I hadn't dug into. But basically, he discovered that the street sign there says South 17th Street. And that since this movie was based in a fictional town in Ohio, he did a Google map search for that address, and there were only 2 exact matches in Ohio. One was in Columbus, that was unrelated. The other was in Sebring, Ohio, which is a town that is around 25 miles from East Palestine. And that this South 17th Street sign in Sebring dead ends into the same exact track that carried the actual train that went off the rails in East Palestine. So Sebring is adjacent to Alliance, Ohio, home to the company that owned the train. And the first road this is on the other side of the tracks from South 17th Street is Pennsylvania Avenue. So basically this scene seemed to predict that it would happen just before the state line into Pennsylvania. So here's the part where they break through the 46 garage. Remember the 4 and 6 windows marking the 46th president, which is Biden, right across from the cemetery and the water tower. And they climb down into the aliens' pit underneath the water tower.
Whoa. This is scary.
Now remember, they're going down in here to rescue Elle Fanning, right? They go under the water tower and they realize that basically the alien is working on some kind of device. A device that creates an electromagnetic event that magnetically gathers all of the town's electric and metallic objects to create a giant spacecraft right above the water tower. Watch. And there you see it, the water tower on the right in blue. And at this point, you begin to realize that both the alien and the spacecraft look like a giant hydra. The spacecraft takes off, and there's your hydra right there, an inverted hydra.
Bit my friend.
Then what?
And that ends the movie. But the movie isn't quite over yet, because there's this credits movie at the very end, which happens a lot now. It's kind of a normal thing now. There's a movie after the movie, so to speak. But before we get into that, the question is, will there be a UFO event during the April 8th eclipse of 2024? Will there be some kind of fake event? Well, they're already setting the stage, aren't they? With these unidentified objects that they say they are shooting down. So now this is the beginnings of the UFO deception, isn't it? And this movie seems to point forward in time from when it was made until precisely this time in history. Now, I will be at that eclipse. I have no fear. I don't recommend people show up to try to meet me, only because if something did happen, I would feel horrible if everybody, went out like that. But I will be live streaming the event. And if something happens to me, I don't really care, because I know where I'm going, right? Because I'm in the service for the Lord. And if something did happen, it would prove all of the work on this channel, which would help more and more people wake up and give their lives to Jesus Christ, wouldn't it? So I will be there on April 8th at that water tower, live streaming the whole thing. Hopefully I'll have, some kind of ability to do that. But let's get into the movie here, this sub movie at the closing credits here. And basically what they're showing here is the final draft of the children's zombie movie. Watch this.
What happened?
He was dead, and then?
He got up and walked away.
How did you know?
Pathway.
Romero Chemical has nothing to do with any such.
Now they're talking about basically the undead, the zombies. Again, more themes that we've been talking about on this channel.
Thing.
Then what happens in Building 47? Did you see the bites on their neck?
Are you suggesting some connection between my chemical company and those...
Those were zombie attacks. That was no accident. Doctor?
Detective.
I'm here to discuss your involvement with Romero Chemical.
It was supposed to be used as a military weapon, but it got out of hand. So
then you have the military weapon, and then the cure. Again, another theme we've been talking about, the disease and the cure together.
I made this antidote that will hopefully cure. I was the one that developed the special compound to turn all these humans into zombies. All of the zombies.
That's incredible. How much have you made?
Just this one. Would you like to help me test it?
So then he's attacked by the zombie, turns him into a zombie.
Honey, I'm home. Good news. We found a cure for the zombie infection.
This is just crazy. I can't even believe this.
Honey?
So he brings the cure home to his wife and goes to give her the injection. Now remember, she's diamonds and pearls. We're going to have to break down what that means. Oh, that's easy. Okay, so diamonds and pearls is the Lucifer is the diamonds, right? And who is the pearls? The pearls is the clean. The pearls is do not throw your pearls before swine. The pearls are the pearl gates of heaven. That's the clean inside the unclean. So basically what you're seeing here in Elle Fanning is the mixture of Lucifer and the holy pearls. Right? That's what you're seeing here. And that's what the Prince's song was really about. Diamonds and pearls. It's the mixing of the two.
John, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. John?
Which is the twin spirits. The two spirits. You cannot serve two masters. You cannot serve two masters. Now, let's talk about why trains are derailing right now. And I believe that the controllers are intentionally compromising the supply chain. We went from almost never hearing of a train derailment to now multiple derailments in just a few weeks. And don't forget about the orchestrated supply chain problems that we've had during the pandemic that crippled basically the building of homes. There were a lot of people wanting to build homes and they just couldn't get supplies. The price of wood went through the ceiling. I believe they did that on purpose so that people could not escape from their homes. They wanted people in their homes, and many people were trying to start to build out in the country or unincorporated areas to get away from these oppressive lockdowns, but they couldn't because the cost to build a home was too expensive. It almost doubled. But you'll notice that the corporate building boom was in full effect, wasn't it? We saw steel buildings going up all around us. Many small towns and cities had booms during the lockdowns, didn't they? How can that happen? Why was that allowed? And the rest of us were basically told that we couldn't get supplies, or they were double or triple the price. I remember lumber was like triple. And basically we were being shorted all the materials that would be necessary to build while the corporate building boom was in full effect. Remember, rents also went through the roof. The nation was locked down and we saw surges in home delivery of almost every kind of consumable you could imagine. This is when it really took off. Now, we did have home delivery of basic goods and all kinds of things on Amazon before that, but really Amazon solidified its place in the market during the lockdowns. That's when everybody was forced to have everything delivered to their homes. And this is when Amazon made record profits. Also, corporations like Grubhub, restaurant delivery, grocery delivery, and cheap goods, and all these things. Thanks for the super chats, you guys, and the channel members. I really appreciate it. Much love to you guys for the support. It really means the world. Now, many of us remember when the world changed from people going to stores, to brick and mortar stores, to having everything delivered at home. It happened pretty abruptly, didn't it? And it was pretty shocking. And I always wondered how that was possible. How is it possible to have something delivered to your doorstep at almost the same price that you would buy it in a store? And I remember in my mind rationalizing, saying, there's one of two things happening with this. Either we were paying way too much before when we were buying it in the stores, or they're giving this stuff away for a reason. In other words, it was artificially set up to receive things online at the same price for another agenda later on. Well, I think that the reason has finally emerged. I think it's becoming clear now that they wanted all of us homebound. They wanted us homebound or in close proximity to a city in which we live. And more specifically, they wanted us bound into our homes. Because we were locked down. They made our life, it was almost like they already had everything set up for the lockdowns, didn't they? And this has nothing to do with the environment. They don't really care about the environment in terms of, because think about it. If this was for the environment, then they would have let people continue to work from home because it would cut emissions, right? In terms of travel into the cities, commuting into the cities for work. But yet, as soon as the lockdowns ended, they forced everybody to go back to work, didn't they? Wouldn't someone have done like a study and said, wow, because of the lockdowns and because people working from home, we cut emissions by 25%. Wouldn't they have like encouraged that? But no, they didn't, which tells me they didn't care about the environment, because they would have let people continue to work from home, but they didn't. So everybody got forced back to work, right? Now, another clue that their goal is to keep us locked down and in these easily controlled cities and or in our homes was the rise of the electric vehicles. They were really pushing this hard over the last 5 years, haven't they? Now, how does the electric vehicle fit into all this? Well, electric vehicles have a very small range. Now, they can go much further, but it doesn't make economic sense for someone to get an electric vehicle and try to drive 4 states away. That doesn't make sense because you're going to have to stop. You're going to have to charge your vehicle overnight. You're going to have to get a hotel like every single several hours. It just doesn't make any sense because you can only really go about 100 miles, 100 to 200 miles. So you're stopping several times a day to charge your vehicle when you go on long trips. So this also feeds into this theory that I have that all of this is orchestrated to start to bind us into and start to collect us and trap us into these smaller grids, these smaller cities. Because notice how all these factors are coming together all at the same time. You got the rise of home delivery, the lockdowns, the electric vehicles, the supply chain issues. Now they're attacking gas stoves. They want us all on the electric grid. It's all about control. It all points to one thing: keeping you in your home unless they want you to go to work. Now, what would be the incentive for the controllers to do this? Well, the answer is obvious. You're more easily controllable when they know exactly where you are, and they can plan on how to control you in the given grid that you are assigned to. Now, tomorrow we're going to get into some other headlines and talk about some developing stories. There's some huge stories, huge Biden boo-boos going on right now. Apparently there was a Maryland mayor who got arrested for being in possession and distributing CP. Well, what makes this interesting is this particular mayor visited the White House several times and saw both Biden and Buttigieg. I think that's how you say his name. I always mess his name up. So, we're also going to get into Trump's comments about quantum leap and housing, his housing plan. So that's what we have on deck tomorrow. Let's go into the chat. Thanks for all the support, you guys. Really appreciate it. I do have a fundraiser link in the description for those of you that want to do monthly support to the channel. That always helps. Just in case the channel goes down, we're under constant threat of being defunded here on YouTube. And so those of you that have already pledged your monthly support through the fundraiser, that's really awesome. I really appreciate that. All right, let's go into the chat. See what you guys are up to. Did I break down Trump's speech at CPAC? That's what we're going to do tomorrow. Talk about the quantum leap comments. Yes, Life in the Shack. That's what CP is, for those that don't know. And that's actually where the whole cheese pizza thing came out of. And why they use pizza as a code for this stuff. Because they have the same acronym, CP. So they call it cheese pizza. All right. Yeah, I don't go on the alternative websites. I believe they are honey traps that are easily monitored and controlled. So I've talked a little bit about that before. I don't go on the alternative websites. They're all crypto based. And Trump basically said that he would do civil asset forfeiture, and that was carried on by Biden. And so now the IRS, as we speak, is doing has named crypto holders as the first ones that they're going to go audit. So now they can go take all of your assets under Trump's law. So I don't go on those alternative websites. Notice how they're all crypto based. It was all a setup. They call crypto the freedom currency, but really it's not. So I don't like to go and support those. Yeah, you're absolutely monitored on those sites. And it's easy for them to monitor you because you're all in a pin over there. Basically, you're all in one place. They all know what your views are. And you don't think the government's over there monitoring that? And it's a lot easier to monitor that than it is on YouTube, where you can hide in the forest, right? So that's what I think about the alternative sites. Now, I wouldn't think that if there were sites that could actually duplicate YouTube's structure or whatever, because it is a successful structure. The only problem with YouTube is the censorship. Why aren't any of the sites a carbon copy of YouTube and the way YouTube works? And so I've learned very quickly about the alternative websites. I've tried to go over onto even onto Telegram. Telegram, no bueno. It's full of trolls, trolling people, creating division, backstabbing. Oh boy, you would not believe what's going on Telegram. And constantly hitting you with crypto ads, people infiltrating groups, asking you to buy crypto, and no one seems to be able to do anything about it. And that's because they want you marked with the crypto so that they can transition you over into the blockchain and monitor you. And then when you don't pay taxes on that, they can come after your assets. So I think it's just a huge honey trap. I'd rather hide here in the trees and challenge YouTube not to censor us, because they don't know what we're talking about, do they? Absolutely. Repent and believe the gospel. That is the main reason why we're here. In order to show people that they need Jesus, you have to show them the lie, and that things aren't great in America, and that they're being lied to and manipulated. So, yeah, we're going to talk about e-bikes, starting fires. That's all in my show notes for tomorrow. All right. Okay, I love you guys, and I will see you tomorrow. Thanks for showing up. Take care and be safe, you guys.